What I think, we don't have enough finishing. First of all, I know Ruidíaz plays like a terrorist, but we need him back, okay?
Seattle Sounders 0, Vancouver Whitecaps 0. Nathan, Maddox, what was your guys' thoughts on tonight's match?
I mean, I thought we could have played a little bit better, maybe got a goal, up the intensity at the end, but I mean, overall, towards the end it got better, I guess.
But it's just a little too late at that point.
I mean, it was too late. They had good chances, which we can build on and hopefully work towards for the playoffs and St. Louis next week. And yeah, I mean,
I agree. I think there was like a lot of learning from the outside backs. I like the opportunities that Nouhou and Alex were taking, especially driving towards the field and trying to cut in, and especially get in towards goal and try and create opportunities. I thought that was something that was newer at the end of the season, or at least recently.
I think this has kind of been a big theme for us this year, especially against teams that are more difficult, because in this stretch of games, hey, all credit to us. I think we've played really well in the stretch of games, but the wins have been against the likes of Galaxy, Austin, teams that are kind of in contention for the playoffs, but not really. But then in games against like Nashville, tonight against Vancouver, these type of teams, we don't have that cutting edge. What do you guys think is the difference to, have that cutting edge like we kind of used to have?
Yeah, I think more or less they just we know how to break down the worst teams, but we can't break down the good teams, like the likes of Vancouver or St. Louis or just anybody in the playoffs right now that we can't get past their defense, and it's not working.
I feel like we get scared. Just to play big teams, we just get nervous and we don't take opportunities out of the back.
Why do you think that is, though?
I don't know. I just feel like...
Do you think it's tactics, players, maybe a mixture of both?
More conservative, not losing points?
A little bit. I think we got to, at the start of, in the entire game, just play our hearts out. And there's a lack...
Not play it at the end when it's
especially, we played at the beginning in the Galaxy match and at the end. And it's not an all-the-way-through type of thing. And when we were good... And we had our runs in CONCACAF and the playoffs in 2019 and the MLS Cup, we were winning because we're playing throughout the game. Especially
not moments.
Yeah, it's not moments. It's about the entire game and not just a singular moment where one player shines and stuff. And it's a whole team thing.
You guys kind of talked about it. I mean, this is the last home game of the season. We're going into playoffs. Obviously, we have the game against St. Louis. They're the top team. I mean, there's not much to really talk about. I mean, win it, we might finish second, third, fourth, somewhere around there. I don't think it's much to worry. But in regards to the playoffs, we weren't in it last year. The last time we won a match in the playoffs was back in 2021. That was our last win in the playoffs. Yeah. What would you guys want to see from us now back in the playoffs? I think an MLS Cup is what fans would want, but do you think that's possible? What would you consider success, a failure? It's a loaded question, but going into the playoffs, what are you guys wanting?
Ooh, from the I think the stands, or for the fans' point for me, I think I want to see more show out, especially in the playoffs, because we haven't been there in so long. But then I want to see the energy from the players, and especially because tonight the bench was getting into it, which I loved also.
At redemption mainly, and also just if we don't make it to the MLS Cup, at least we redeemed ourselves and got to the playoffs. And if we play like we can play and are up to our potential, then we can definitely go far. Because if we play how we want to play and control the ball and just keep doing anything that works, I guess, we'll win games and just beat teams. And I mean, the playoffs, the first round is 3 games or up to 3 games. So
a best of 3 series, which that will have to obviously be a video I'll have to discuss about the format, but that's for the later on.
I mean, that'll have some play in how we do. If we can come off.
But that means we have to be good in a 3-game span, which I think that's been a tricky problem for us. Because we can beat teams one-off. I think that's in our locker, but when it comes to us playing, let's say if we have to play a let's say Vancouver, a Portland, or a San Jose. We've seen, when we play at home, we play okay. Then when we play away, we lose. And it's can we be that team to win that best of 3 series?
Yeah. If we play Portland, if we're in second place and we play Portland, and we beat them, that'll be an extreme boost.
Do you think that's gonna? I mean, that's a whole onion to talk about.
If we just come off a 2-0 sweep whoever we play, that'll give everyone a big boost of confidence, but I just don't know if that's going to happen.
Would you consider, if we get knocked out in the first round, would you guys consider that a failure for the most part this season? Because we got knocked out in the first round, second round of the Open Cup. We didn't really, this could have been a possible potential supporter shield campaign. You know, we could have maybe done a little bit better in the regular season. Do you think a first round exit would be a bit of a failure this season for us? Especially because you guys talked about this team has a lot of potential, but we've lacked that cutting edge a little bit.
I think I wouldn't call it a failure, but it's a letdown. Failure's a bit too far because we've made the playoffs after not making it last year.
Sure, so that's good progression.
I think if we get swept, it's a failure.
Okay, I guess it's the context of how we go out.
If we go out like in a sweep, like Maddox said, that'd be a bad scenario. If we go 1-1 into the third game and fight, and then it's a late goal, I guess that's a heartbreaking moment. But like, I don't know.
But that late goal would be at CenturyLink, which would also be like disappointing because I think
what if it's a first round exit to Portland for the fact we've played them in the playoffs multiple times? You know, we haven't beaten them in years. Would that be kind of a failure in your guys' eyes a little bit? Like leaning more towards like a big disappointment?
Yeah, I would definitely say if we lose to Portland or Vancouver even in a 3-game playoff, that would be bad.
If we get swept by Portland, I don't know what I'm going to do. We're going to lose it.
It's not going to be good if we get swept by Portland.
Seattle Sounders 0, Vancouver Whitecaps 0. Sam, what was your thoughts on tonight's match?
Okay, what I think, we don't have enough finishing. First of all, I know Ruidíaz plays like a terrorist, but we need him back, okay?
I actually agree with you on that one. In this game,
In this case, terrorism is good. Only for this, though. Everything else, no terrorism, okay? Second of all, hey, Bear, you're useless, okay? Let's see, who else? I feel like Obed Vargas should have seen the field. I feel like Reed should have seen the field earlier because we let them motherfuckers make a sub at 60 minutes and we didn't until 75,
yeah.
Exactly, right? Why aren't we making subs sooner? Our players are gassed, okay?
Especially we had a midweek game too.
Midweek game, yeah. That's probably why Nico didn't play versus Galaxy. But that Galaxy dub was fire. But we need to capitalize on this because now I'm pulling my phone for this right here, okay? But now for the playoffs. See, our playoff seeding, that's the issue now. Because why? If we want to be a top 5 seed, we're going into St. Louis, okay? Now I'm hoping St. Louis doesn't play starters because they already
secured first place.
Number 1 and they can't win the supporters shield. So what's the point of playing your starters? You know what I mean? So let's go into the standings right here. We are 50 right here, okay? We need a draw. That's it. We need a draw, at least a draw, just so we can be top 4, okay? A Houston L would make me happy, okay? Vancouver, they play LAFC. So a win would let us get second place right here. As long as they draw or they win. So
we're going to win.
We're going to win.
We're going to win. That's it. I got it.
We're winning.
Woohoo! Yes.
What if we play a Portland, a San Jose? Does that not scare you a little bit in the playoffs?
Fuck no. You think I'm scared of Portland or San Jose? Do you see San Jose?
We didn't beat them this season.
Yeah, but we're going to beat them in the playoffs. Okay. See, any team could win from February to October. But during late October up to December, not every team can win. San Jose, we know they can't win. They don't even make it past October. Let's be real. Okay. This is the first time they're going to do it. The shit.
Okay. So then what is your expectations going? You kind of talked about St. Louis. What are your expectations going into the playoffs?
My expectations, let's see. Just capitalize and finish in the net. That's literally all you have to do. Because we are we are a good team. We know we are a good team. We have veterans on our team. All we need, good capitalization. Okay, the problem today was we didn't have enough people in the middle to score the damn goal, right? Leo Chu was crossing right into the damn bar. We had Alex Roldan. They're crossing into the damn bar, out of the damn net. We need more people making runs into the middle.
Isn't that kind of been a big theme of this season, though, to be fair?
No. We've been talking about this for a while. We know it. Our game plan is to just throw the ball wide until you get an open cross and just send that hole all the way to fucking Narnia. We are ass. Only for that, though. If we do literally anything else, we are a good team. We are a top 2 team in MLS. But same old game plan, same old formations, and it gets old. Like, you figure us out. We've been in the league for so long. They know what we're doing.
Seattle Sounders 0, Vancouver Whitecaps 0. Colin, I think this season you were the most capped fan cam person, so I want to say congratulations for that. But second of all, the match. What was your thoughts on it?
Very mediocre game. I mean, it was better than what we've seen, but I mean, it's the last game against LA. I think we played decently. Obviously, we have Cristian back. He probably could have done a little bit better this game. Almost scored in the end again. But I think having some key players back has been important for the, I guess, desire to win for the team. Obviously, Rui's out again. I don't know why.
I think he might be back, maybe St. Louis game, hopefully by the playoffs.
Yeah, hopefully, but I don't know why he's really still on the team after all of these injuries.
Fourth or fifth injury this season.
Yeah, been out for half the season. Not really done anything when he has been here. Scored I don't even know,
maybe 5 to 6 goals.
5 or 6 goals. I mean, it's just really not good enough from a DP striker. You're paying one of the most on the team.
I think he is the most or second most.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a little ridiculous how much he's getting paid for the amount of time he's playing and the amount of goals he's scoring. It's just not worth it, in my opinion. So next year, hopefully we see him gone. Hopefully we see Nico gone as well next year.
We saw him crying at the end of walking around the field.
Yeah, I think this is probably his last game here, at least besides playoffs. His last regular season home game, I should say. Which obviously, I mean, he's a club legend. I respect him for what he's done. But this season, he's just not been good enough to be a DP caliber.
Especially, I mean, tonight he had 2 pretty good chances on the left foot. And I feel like if this was Nico Lodeiro of 2019, those both would have been bagged.
Yeah, both of them straight to the keeper. Granted, the keeper was playing pretty good all game. He had 2 ridiculous saves.
But Nico's had a lot of pretty, as much as Nico's game doesn't have to be goals, he's had a lot of pretty good chances on his left foot that he is just not converted.
Yeah, he's just not the same anymore. I don't really know what to say.
I don't want to bag Nico too hard because, club legend and all that,
Yeah,
but it's not been ideal.
It's not been ideal from him. And then Rusnák, our other DP. Well, I'm not the biggest fan of him. I know there are some people that absolutely hate him and everything he does is wrong and he can do no right in their eyes. But I think he's not been a good player, but I don't think he's been the worst on the team. I don't think he's DP caliber. He's maybe TAM at best. So drop him down to TAM, sign a DP or 2.
That means we might have then 4 if next season in MLS they add the additional DP spot, and if you somehow get Rusnák on a TAM, get rid of Nico and Raúl, you got 4 open DP spots.
Yeah, 4 open DP slots in modern MLS. I mean, we can see some big things happen. I mean,
you want to see that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with Griezmann interested in MLS, he's
a big Mariners fan.
Big Mariners fan. Maybe the Mariners will draw him here. Some big star power for a team, some big European names, get us some extra money in ticket sales and jersey sales,
Especially with the rebrand, I think it would help out a lot.
Yeah, it definitely would help to have a big name striker that could be absolutely game changing for the team. And then I've heard rumors that we're looking into another Japanese international player. I don't know who it is. I don't know. That was kind of a newer thing.
That's news to me.
Yeah, but I think because after the last transfer window when we were looking for a Japanese international and that fell through, I think we're looking for another one. That's just what someone reported. I don't know how true it is, so,
Looking into the playoffs, I know we were talking a little bit more in the future there. Game against St. Louis, kind of irrelevant, doesn't really matter. We'll probably finish 2nd, 3rd, 4th, somewhere around there. Going into the playoffs, what do you want from this team? Do you think we can make a deep run? If we get bounced out first round, which is something I think might happen, would you consider that a failure, not a good look for this team? What are you hoping for going into the playoffs?
Going into playoffs, I mean, I think it's going to be rough no matter who we play. I think our options are kind of down to Portland, San Jose, and maybe Vancouver. I don't know how far they can drop.
One of those teams, yeah.
So, obviously we tied Vancouver, and I think we had a losing record against all 3 of those teams this season. And with the best of 3 format this year in MLS playoffs, I don't know.
It scares you a little bit.
It does scare me because we're not the greatest in consistency. We have our games like the last game against LA. Granted, they're dog shit team, but I hopefully we can get it done against a semi-decent team. I think we looked better than Vancouver tonight, which is important. I think it shows some progress because, someone said today that out of the last 10 games, Sounders have won 3 games. All 3 of them have come from the bottom 3 teams in the West.
All the teams that are pretty much now eliminated from playoffs, but yeah, they were pretty much the bottom 3 worst teams.
Yeah, so I mean, winning against the bad teams, great.
It's decent.
But we also need to be doing against the mid-table teams and high-table teams if we want to be able to challenge for MLS Cup, which I think is the goal at the end of every season. I mean, it should be. Our goal should always to be win some silverware. But this season it's just looked kind of flat-footed.
Yeah. So would you consider a first-round exit failure, disappointing, especially, let's say it's against Portland, especially since we haven't beaten them in the last 2 other previous times we played them in the playoffs? What do you think?
I mean, I think a first-round exit, I'm expecting it, to be honest, given how we've been playing, but I do think it's a disappointment for the team, given the quality of the players we have. The quality that we have, we should not be playing like how we are. Sure, we're second in the West, or third in the West now, but, I mean, look at how garbage the West is this year. We would be 7th or 8th in the East right now. Like, yeah, we're great. We're in top of the West, like, in the top 3, but, like, it's just not
I mean,
good
the
enough.
teams are really separated just by, 1 to 5 points, though, from, 2nd to, 7th or 8th in the West. That's the crazy part as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's West is really close, and they're all not very good, except maybe St. Louis, but even then
You don't know because they're an expansion team. They don't even have any playoff
Yeah,
experience.
I think they've been very lucky this season. I mean, I've kind of stayed consistent with that throughout the season. They won, up until the Sounders game earlier in the season where we beat them, they won every single game, and pretty much every single game, they had a player pass them the ball for João to go through and score. So I think St. Louis is just a lucky team. So I mean, and obviously in the playoffs, being lucky helps a lot, as we saw in 2016 when we won. Being a lucky team is arguably sometimes better than being a good team.
Then, for you, what do you think will be our where we finish off in the playoffs this year? I mean, you think it's going to be a first-round exit? Why do you think that will be the case?
Just how flat the teams look this year. There's been a little bit of improvement, but I mean, looking at last year where we didn't make the playoffs, the year before we got first rounded by RSL, the team looks just too similar to those times where it was just too flat. There's no real want to play, want to win, and it's just kind of tough to see. But I think if we can somehow beat whatever team we play in the first round, it puts us on a good path. I think if we can get past the hurdle of the first round, we'll be at least in the semifinals, in finals of the West, I guess.
Last time I spoke to you, you were Brian out. What are we, 8 games unbeaten or whatever? Do you still stand on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, okay, today, all right, we subbed off Chu, who was arguably, in my opinion, our best player today. He was just flying down the left flank and putting balls in, putting shots in, challenging Takaoka to make saves. So I don't really know, why he took him off for, who did he put in?
Hebert, and then threw Morris out wide.
And then put Morris out wide when Morris had a bad game this game. I don't understand his tactical decisions, and I don't understand, finally he switched off from because earlier this season we had the same lineup that was working, and then we switched it, wasn't working. He's finally figured out that switching back to what was working in the beginning of the season is more effective at winning games than what we have been doing. So he's shown a little bit of positive change, but it's just not been enough to keep him in next year.
Seattle Sounders 0, Vancouver Whitecaps 0. Jack, what was your thoughts on tonight's match?
I think it was just a rough game. I mean, we had 10 plus shots to their, I think they only had 4 on goal, and we weren't able to convert any. We had some really good chances. We had a couple of shots from the top of the box that certainly should have been converted, at least made the keeper work a little bit harder. I know Nico had 2 that he put right at the keeper's feet, and it's just...
And it was with his left foot.
And on his left foot. I mean, he doesn't have an excuse. It's just...
But that's kind of Nico for, this whole season.
Yeah, and it's just, I think that's really what it is like we just don't have an excuse. You know, you were talking before in some of your videos, like Brian Schmetzer all season has just been like, we just need a spark. We've been getting sparks.
Yeah.
We've been getting sparks in game, out of game. It's like we've been getting sparks week in, week out, and we just haven't been able to convert. We haven't been able to turn it into wins, and by some miracle, we're still second in the West. But, you know, if the season goes a little bit differently for just a few other teams, we could be well out of the playoffs, well below the line. And it's just, I feel like this match is just indicative of that. We just had so many chances and we just couldn't convert.
I mean, we have had some good wins where we've beaten the likes of, like, in this, like, non-losing streak, we have beaten the likes of like Galaxy, Austin. I mean, those are teams that are like outside the playoffs. But in the more challenging games against like Vancouver, Nashville, we didn't really have that X factor. I think that's the big thing we're lacking in these games.
And you know, I think it's so evident when you just watch how the Sounders attack. All we can do, I mean, if you look at the possession by zone, right, by zone of the field, I'm pretty sure that 60 to 70% of our possession went down Leo Chu's left wing. And, you know, what we do when we don't get an easy cross in from Leo Chu because he beats his man is we dribble around the top of the 18 until we get pressed, and then we pass back to midfield. And it is so uninspired, and it is just so static. You know, I remember years ago when we were winning the MLS Cup, and Ruidíaz was just so dynamic. Lodeiro was just so dynamic. There was so much movement. There was so much danger. And now we're so predictable. And as soon as we get shut down and as soon as we can't convert those chances, it's just like we have nothing.
No plan B. The tactics.
We just can't create our own shots. We just can't create our own shots. I mean, Ruidíaz used to be able. I mean, look at like the one beautiful play that always comes to mind is Ruidíaz's dribble goal against Atlanta United when Atlanta United were at their peak strength, and he just carved up the defense. You know, when was the last time
we've seen a goal like that or kind of a moment like that?
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely don't think we've had one all season. I think maybe the most recent one is João Paulo's full field dribble, and even that was what?
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, we've lost our dynamism, we've lost our motion, and you know, Leo Chu is good. I mean, I'd say he's by far an above average winger for the MLS, but like, you know, there's only so many times that he can sprint and beat his man on the far side and then whip across into nobody, right? And that's just not how you win games, and it's especially not how you win playoff games. It's especially not how you win MLS Cups.
I mean, you talked about the playoffs. I mean, obviously we still have the game against St. Louis away from home.
Yeah.
We'll probably... I mean, we beat St. Louis earlier in the season, 3-0. It might be different in St. Louis. We'll see what happens there. But you talked a little bit about playoffs going into it. Obviously, that's the big objective. What is kind of like, what do you want to see from us in the playoffs? What would you consider a success, a failure? Just because this is, I mean, we haven't won a game in the playoffs since 2021. That was 2 years ago. And let's say we get knocked down the first round again. That's going to be a third year that we won't have another win. What do you want to see from us?
And, you know, honestly, for most of the second half of the season, I've been saying that I don't think it's good for the Sounders that we make the playoffs. I think it's bad for the Sounders because I feel like it inspires false confidence in the team. And I feel like it means that the front office can point to this roster and say, hey, look, guys, we're second in the West. We don't need to change anything because look at the success that we still have, right? We made the playoffs. We're a high seed, right? But I feel like, you know, if you actually look at what the games dictate to us, it's like we just don't, there's no spark, there's no energy, and I don't believe that we can win. Frankly, I don't believe that we can win. That being said, what I want to see in the playoffs is our younger guys sparkling. I want to see Leo Chu just like tearing up the defenders. I want to see Reed Baker-Whiting. I want to see Reed Baker-Whiting do
very inspiring match against Nashville. I really liked how he played.
I mean, I believe in the talent. I believe in the talent of our homegrown guys.
There's all these homegrown players, all these young players getting like links to big European teams, but then why can't they play why can't they get more minutes for us though? That's what I don't understand.
And that's really what it is it's like I don't have faith and I don't have confidence that we'll be able to make a run this year or even win in the playoffs, but all I can hope for is that our key players, especially our key young players, shine and we put in our full effort and we do everything that we can to scratch and claw and get our spark back. because that's really what it comes down to, and that's how we.
How do you think we get that spark back? Do you think it's personnel change? Do you think it's maybe coaching change? What do you think we will see that you spoke about it, like that team we had in 2019 with Ruidíaz's goal, or 2021 with like João Paulo's moment? Like, where do you think that spark or that change, those magical moments, will come back for this team? In what way?
Yeah, honestly, actually in my last video, I was talking about how I feel like Schmetzer should be on the hot seat. And I still believe he should. I still believe he should be on the hot seat, but I actually don't believe that he should be fired just yet. Because I think if you look at what this team has done, maybe it was under Schmetzer's direction, maybe it was under some other pressures from the front office, but Hebert being our only signing is just abysmal. And we've seen exactly how that's played out. The league is changing around us by the day. And for, a 30-year-old striker from within MLS being our only offseason signing through the offseason or the summer transfer window is just, it's bad. It's bad. And I think that first and foremost, I would hope that we get our spark back with new players, young players, even if it means that we have to rebuild the club from we have to rebuild the core of our starting 11.
It's a little scary for a lot of fans.
It is, and it's it's so hard to let go of club legends like Lodeiro and Ruidíaz, and even to some extent players like Yeimar or Frei. I don't think that they should be given the boot just yet, but they're getting up there in age, and it's time that we start planning for the future. Again, I don't believe we can make a run this year. And
would you consider that a fail? Let's say because as it stands, we might play likes of like a Portland or San Jose or like a Dallas in the first round. If we get, especially maybe against Portland, do you think that's like a failure or disappointment? Do you think that's going to put a damper, like a first round exit, like with this team and where we finished?
I think if you look at this from a very top-down perspective and you say, the Sounders, number 2 in the West, lose to the likes of Portland, win against Portland and lose against another sort of mid-seeded team, I think if you look at it from the top down, it's really easy to label it as just an abject failure, total failure, waste of a season. But, realistically, I think even beating Portland, who, sacking their manager and finding a way to come into a little bit of a run, coming into a streak, being able to claw their way back above the red line. It's like being able to beat a team like that, especially with the way that we've been backsliding in this second half of the season. I think that would be, that is a success in and of itself. That is a success. If we can beat Timbers and even beat the next team, that's a huge success.
But let's say we don't.
If we don't, I don't know. It's hard to. It's truly.
It depends on what happens, I guess.
It depends on the game, And if we go out flat, in the game, if we lay an egg against Timbers,
it's not a good look, especially for the fact we've played them 2 other previous instances in the playoffs and lost.
Yeah. It's hard to call that anything but a total failure. I just don't. There's so much for me, and this has just been growing in me throughout the season. There's just so much disappointment and so much that I feel like we're leaving on the table, and really
opportunities for change and like just areas to grow and just be a little bit better,
and even results. We've had opportunities in game. Beyond developing our young talent. We've had opportunities in game that we just haven't converted, and that turns into 3 points turning into 1 point turning into 0. It's just we've given up so many opportunities. We just have been so
stagnant,
difficult to convert, and for so much of this season. And I think that if we can show that we can do it in the playoffs, that's a win. If we can't do it in the playoffs, then I hope that it becomes a wake-up call. Okay. I really do. And I don't think it's as simple as firing Schmetzer. I think that, this offseason, if we make moves and we actually build a team and Schmetzer can't develop our guys that we bring in, that we, hopefully would bring in, then it becomes, Schmetzer change. Whole, coaching staff shakeup. Potentially even like front office needs to be changed. I just don't even know what I'm hoping for anymore. And I think that's really the worst feeling with this Sounders team is it's like
There's this weird feeling in your stomach. You're like, something seems a little bit off, but you just can't quite pinpoint. Is it signings? Is it front office? Is it the tactics? Is it Schmetzer?
And you know, it's just I used to come to home games and I used to think, you know, how bad are we going to beat this team? You know? And now I came into this game, you know, Vancouver's 5th seeded, we're the 2nd seed, and I came in thinking like, you know, how many goals are we going to get? How many goals are going to get scored this match by the Sounders or by the Whitecaps? You know, like, how is this going to go? And it's just, there's just this lingering sense of unease that is just, it's not what I'm used to from the Sounders. And, you know, that's the hardest thing. And that's, you know, it's above my pay grade. You know, I'm not in the club, and it's really not my decision to make. But all I know is that we have to break through this uneasiness, whether that's through winning in the playoffs and showing that this core can still compete, or it's by scrapping it and building a new core, building this club up, you know, with the rebrand, just building a new identity. And however we're going to make that happen, it has to happen soon, because, you know, what else can we do?
Seattle Sounders 0, Vancouver Whitecaps 0. Andreas, I think you might be one of our youngest fans we've ever had on. I mean, first and foremost, thank you for coming on. But second, what was your thoughts on tonight's match?
It was exciting, especially near the end, but it's a disappointing outcome. But at least we're still in the playoffs.
That's a valid point. You know,
Yeah.
a little bit disappointing, but we had chances at the end. It seems like that's a big theme for the Sounders right now.
Yeah.
We kind of make those late pushes in the games. I mean, all in all, have you been happy with the season so far from us?
Yeah. It's better than last year, like a lot better, and we look like we could be pretty good in the playoffs if we like keep working on our passing, and like the goalie for Vancouver did a really good job in blocking some of those shots. Few of those should have gone in.
For you, what is like a good, like what's a good run? What's a success? What would be a failure in the playoffs for us?
I would say at least win like 2 or 3 games.
Okay. So try to make a final, make it to the final. Do you think this team could do that though?
Yes.
Like, okay.
I believe that they could. Like, I went to the finals in 2019. That was an amazing experience.
But do you think this is the same team as 2019 though?
No, I feel like we've gotten a little older, like Lodeiro and Ruidíaz, and I feel like maybe in a couple years we could get some new signings and the team can like get younger.